so he tries to move on.
Do you mind if I address the gospel of Jesus' wife?
Sure, go ahead.
What was her name?
Yeah,
I'm like trying to write notes like I know what
Oh my
I'm
God, this dude. His
I'm just
face.
curious.
so the gospel of Jesus' wife doesn't actually
His eyes.
Hours long. As a matter of fact, I made it 27 minutes. You guys go check that out. The problem is that Billy Carson is lying. In his response, he claimed that he was not able to speak and he wasn't given the floor to respond.
I understand what a real debate actually is because I've actually been in actual real debates.
Man,
There's a
that's his,
moderator, a person that
he knows
moderates.
it. He knows everything.
Moderator, him or herself, does not interfere with the conversation. They don't interfere, you see? They don't commandeer the conversation. And
Was
the
he-
moderator is there to allow both parties to actually get a chance. to
Right? He
talk.
probably come from a acting class or some
He
shit.
That's
looks
not what
familiar.
happened.
He looks like an
This is not
somebody
true.
I've seen
It's
before.
just simply not true. We can tell that you had the floor to speak, bro.
relying on something like the Gospel of Barnabas, which is not
see your
just
brother.
like it's
Finish?
not that there's debate about it. It's that it's a known
Yeah, I know.
forgery. I mean, no one's referring to the Gospel of Barnabas as anything other than.
If you say it's a known forgery and expert, I'm going to go with that. Let's talk about the Old Testament a little bit, leading up into the New.
Well, hold on, because
Now everybody can see right here. He said, let's talk about the Old Testament really quick, right? Because he was able to speak and he didn't want to address
Yeah.
the Gospel of Barnabas or the forgery claim. So he tries to move on.
do you mind if I address the Gospel of Jesus' wife?
What was her name?
Yeah,
I'm like trying to write notes like I know what I'm doing. I'm just curious.
So the Gospel of Jesus' wife doesn't actually mention. So oftentimes what happens is that the text of the Gospel of Jesus' wife is kind of paralleled with the Gospel of Philip, which mentions that that Jesus would kiss Mary Magdalene on the mouth. And so those are kind of used in parallel to kind of for this argument that Jesus was married. So the Gospel of Jesus' wife is
Escudiendo?
in the Harvard Library. However,
Not really, because I don't have.
the reason we know it's also not legitimate is because even though the manuscript, the papyrus that it's on, was carbon dated to the 4th century, the text was actually copied from a PDF version of the Gospel of Thomas known as Grandin's Interlinear, and there was a mistake in the Coptic text of Grandin's Interlinear that was copied into the
Intelligently.
so we know that this is not a legitimate document, even though the papyrus is ancient, and this happens a lot with forgeries. I have a couple of friends who have actually worked on projects that have revealed forgeries within Dead Sea Scroll manuscripts and within other ancient Christian papyri. But the reason why we know the Gospel of
I know
Jesus'
about
wife
forgeries. I know
and
about,
that Karen King
and then
kind
you
of
just be
vouched
reading
for
the
it.
Bible like it's faith.
She lost a lot of credibility, unfortunately,
faithfully reading the Bible.
for her, and she's admitted that it's fake as well. was
I know about
because
forgeries. I know
we
about.
can tie it directly
I went to college and
not
I'm in
copying
Dubekili
from
and
an ancient text, but actually copying from an online version of the Gospel of Thomas in a PDF form, and the mistake on that PDF, form
PDF.
was copied into the text of that was borrowed in the phraseology of Jesus' wife. So I just point that out is, once again, with our sourcing, I think we need to make sure that we're going towards not just early sources, but actually credible sources. And unfortunately, neither the Gospel of Barnabas nor the Gospel of Jesus' wife are credible sources in terms of actually, and agreed upon by not just the vast majority of scholarship, but I don't know.
see what I'm saying.
anybody
From a vast
in the field of
majority of
papyrology,
scholarships have to agree on something.
historiography,
You see what I'm
who
saying?
actually
It's
refers
not.
to these
They're like,
documents
oh, because of the
as
evidence, we're just gonna
being
go ahead and
legitimate.
just say
That's fair
yes.
enough.
It
That's-
looks
I
like
respect
it's
that.
true.
So let's go into the.
No,
other
you're supposed to go on facts.
Predominantly from my research.
And then he said that he's not someone credible. That
I
means
discovered that a lot of
Moses was
information
credible
from the Enuma
to give out the
Elish
laws.
tablets of creation.
Now, everybody can see, and I let that play a little bit to show
Whatever.
you guys that he was not cut off by the moderator. He was allowed to pose this new argument without responding.
And why
to
he
the
didn't say
gospel
nothing either? He
Jesus
could have said, "Hey,
wife
man, you're
being
disrupting me."
forged.
Or
But
let me
thanks to
talk to you. I
guys
think he
like
did
John
one time.
Clash, and I think John Clash was like one of the only ones with the full debate for a while. Thanks to guys like him, the full debate was out before he even made this response. So he could not lie, but that's exactly what he did. Let's even take a look at Billy Carson's comment section. First comment, Poor Billy, your house is made of cards. He may have bumbled his words, LOL. You said it on multiple podcasts, LOL. Bro, humility would go a long way and prevent you from losing followers. It's really not that deep. You were just wrong about stuff. This lawsuit makes no sense. Billy. You saw him looking stuff up on ChatGPT? No, you didn't. That was Mark who was sitting beside you. This guy says you agreed, though. You can't handle being fact-checked. Oop, I'm sorry. I found the text. I misquoted. Billy Carson, 2024. You notice Billy Boy only talks to people who are weak in knowledge. This time, he miscalculated. And look at this one. This one is detrimental. I had to unsubscribe. It's one thing to be a sore loser, but to not admit defeat means you cannot learn or grow due to no lesson being received. And this is true because, like I said, guys, I watched a lot of Billy Carson's videos, but it's when he talks about like aliens and theories and spaceships and stuff like that. Those videos are really cool. And as someone who is supposed to be receiving information and dishing information, you should be okay with finding out that your information that you received is false and accept it. But instead, what he did is he lied and he tried to make it seem like he was ambushed in order to make him look bad.
I mean, he was
which
the
I don't
moderator
even
was
think
chilling
that
with
was
him,
the
huh?
case. Billy, everyone is just wondering why,
Yeah,
if
that's
you're
the
really in the
moderator.
pursuit of truth
Like, I mean-
of our realm, why didn't you just admit you were wrong about stuff and learn with your followers? That's what people who truly are in pursuit of truth would do. We got Ruslan KD says Christmas came early from Christian content creators after this dumpster fire of a response. At 1 hour and 8 minutes, everyone knows there's textual variance. And anyone with a non-KJV study Bible knows those passages are missing in the earliest manuscripts. And yes, the Epistle of Barnabas and Hermes were considered for canon. They didn't make it for obvious reasons Billy can't seem to understand.
What, all these men?
And then we have that a boy Billy, a true con man,
Yeah.
never backs down and admits he's
Knowledge,
wrong.
yeah.
In fact, this is exactly what
Yeah.
I would expect.
This
basically saying,
man
humble yourself,
and that
Billy.
man
It's okay
said
to
this
admit
man
you
said
don't
that,
know it all,
that
and
man
you have
said
to-
this
you
man.
have misspoken in
I'm
regards
like,
to
Jesus,
specific
sounds like you're
points
standing in the
by
house of cards. I'm
defending
like, what are you
them
standing
too,
on?
I
A house
assume.
of what? Bricks?
All in all, like I said, Billy
Same
Carson,
shit.
you could have
She's
literally
gonna
avoided
fall
all
down
of this
too,
by
shit.
just
So
having
fuck.
some humility, man.
And get
The
your
full
ass on that
video is
land. That
out.
shit ain't gonna never fall
It
on
seems
your
like
ass.
a decent conversation. I don't
I
know
wouldn't say
why
that,
you're
unless
so
you living by a
mad
mountain.
about this. Just be honest and come out and
Or
say,
next
"Man,
to a
you know what,
tree,
man, I
but,
misquoted
you
some
know.
sources. As a matter of fact, looks like I've been
You ain't gotta worry about your shit falling.
I need to fact check my sources a little bit more, get a little bit more strong with my information. I'm not human, you know. I make mistakes, but you know, let's go ahead and get into it. This alien stuff. No, I'm just playing. All right, man. I appreciate you guys. Thanks
That was
for
it?
subbing to the channel.
That was
Glad
it?
you guys like the
That was
new
all he,
content on this channel. I will
relayed
be
on,
hitting you guys with
this-
some good content on this channel.
thing?
All right, peace.
Okay. Like the whole time I was listening to somewhat the debate, it was just like, I'm like, I don't know, y'all just be talking about what men say all the time. This man said that, and then Judicus of this was fucking fake, and this. I'm like, oh my god, dude.
Can I change the title of this live?
Huh?
Can I change the title of this live, please?
Yeah.
I'll change it back when you
No, that's fine. I'll just put another one. Matter of fact, go to the actual video, Lovey, right here. Go to the video and then go forward a page.
I've got to react to it.
All right, what's up, everyone? And
All right.
I'm trying to move this stuff. And yeah, they'll do an awesome job.
So this guy is a
Intro
scholar
to make it way
in
more fancy
I
than
don't know,
this.
aliens, and
But
this
I'm
guy's
here
a
with my
scholar
good
on
man, Billy Carson.
magic or fiction.
who- I've known Billy personally for some years now.
Yeah.
Solid friend, great character, businessman. He's been on Elevating Beyond last time, sharing your whole story behind the story. And what you hugely specialize in as well, you just came back from Egypt, is like the Emerald tablets. You've been studying those since what, you were like 6 or something? I think?
No, not the Emerald Tablets.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, the Emerald Tablets I've been studying for the last probably 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Damn,
since I
10
was
years.
6, I was
Fuck.
studying
You
aerospace,
crazy knowledgeable.
technology, which then led me into understanding more about advanced technologies and then finding the link between advanced technology and ancient civilizations. And going on literally a 25-year, or 27-year now, goodness, trek around the world. Been around the world now over 18 times. Last year, spent 9 months in hotels.
I remember.
As you know, you're my witness. Leaving this big old mansion behind and not going home at all. And
Travel grind.
traveling nonstop
Well, Levy.
to these ancient sites to get the information hands-on.
See, I talk like this means I'm knowledge.
And oh, it was weird.
I'm
I
on
just
God
heard
mode.
Sean, Wes, you there?
Shit, he frozen. He look like Jesus done instruct him already. What the fuck just happened?
Be too easy if it works perfect, right?
Yeah, I know. What is he calling in on? What is that app?
This is through
Stream Deck?
I'd have to ask Carl. It's through. It actually works great usually, unless
No,
there's
it's
something
a
going
great
on
app.
with the
No,
Wi-Fi.
I think it's pretty cool. I'm just trying to figure. I think it's on his end of his connection.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to figure out like what is the name of this thing you're using, this portal?
it's I want to actually press. It's I think it's all through Ecamm.
Ecamm. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so they have their own link, and
Nice.
you can set this up for different guests. You can
Yeah, yeah.
make.
Of us
When
together?
Carl was here through like Eric
there's
Thomas,
much
we're just
things,
doing the show, waiting for him to call back.
Did it look like it was?
Yeah, he helped
I didn't see it in your thumb.
get some of these pre-things going, but you can get way more fancy. You got someone that
Use that family
I'm
one,
just
yeah.
like, how do I do it?
Yeah,
To
no,
where-
I think it's a pretty cool platform.
Let me actually try to jump back.
You need to get some
and-
new
okay, cool.
photos.
So we'll figure this out in some editing and stuff, or maybe we'll just leave this in. But as Wesley's getting ready to jump on, Wesley Huff is with Billy. Like you can watch the previous show, and I've had the honor of being on his podcast. So like-minded in so many ways, and I've been talking about this for a while. I'm like, it'd be interesting to have you on and discuss. I don't love overly getting obsessed with the word religion, so I
Like
would say more
it's
of
crazy too. Like I don't.
where some of the beliefs.
Like
differ.
I don't.
If I
Like when I like
was
he's saying this
connected
person's
to a
live, that
re-
person live. I
religion
can't even go
closest
over
to
there and then speak
Christianity,
because I speak
and
it.
the
It gets
Bible,
washed away by all the people's
although
voices.
the
You see what I'm
Old
saying?
Testament,
So
I have
they
still,
opt out for you to pay to speak.
it's the New Testament and Jesus.
But I'm like, I don't want to pay you
have my
because if
whole
I
life
pay you,
story
then that
where
shows that I'm giving your
that changed me.
Endorsing
Yeah,
it.
I'm
transformed me
endorsing your
belief-
ignorance.
belief-wise
You see what I'm
as a
saying?
person.
Just to get my
And,
question out.
okay,
When I
so
know
she's
what
in
I
agreement.
think about, it doesn't have to do with none of this.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like I said, I was like, yeah, take your ass back to the
And
land.
let's see.
Do what you do out there.
We got
And none of this
Wes
shit matters.
on.
It's just
Hello, hello.
Wes, we got you back on. So I'll introduce
Ugh,
Wes too,
the
but yeah, what
fuck?
I was just saying real quick, Billy, too, is I also a shared belief I think too with you with God is I also believe I know God is within me too. It's just, and I don't believe that it's like you have to do 20 circles in the same.
yeah, I'll take one, right?
A
Just-
ritual
I'll take
to
one a day.
that was through like my connection with Jesus, where I know
There's no more cherry.
throughout my life
Whichever one,
that's
it don't
been my when things are tough. It's like the strength of God is literally within me.
Right.
As so like where we do agree on where like a lot of the heresies and stuff through over religious practices would be like, no, you have to come through the head of this church to be blah blah blah, you know.
Right. Right.
And personally, and we're about to get Wes on, so we can have two really smart people in this talking about it. But I'm just breaking it down to my level of my understanding.
By smart by
That's
what?
been
By
what really drew me in
degrees.
is kind of when
Okay,
Jesus
my
came and
bad.
flipped all that on its head.
Shit, because I could have sworn
No,
Cobra, he's got a
we're
high
not-
school diploma.
What was it like the
Cyrus got a high
Pharisees,
school
like,
diploma. No,
we're
I
not
think he
he's like,
dropped
we're
out
not
after he
having to go
sucked
through
that
all the
dude's
rules. He's
pee-pee
like,
and
they're
shit.
actually worse
Yeah,
and
remember?
thief right here.
He got
And
kicked
really
out for
look at
that.
what
Yeah,
was in
he
people's
sucked some
hearts,
handicapped
you know?
dude's dick and
And
fucking.
I think that's a beautiful.
For real, that's what happened. I
That's
think if
beautiful.
I might be
But I'm
mistaken.
about-
I don't know,
so,
but
Wes,
that's what I
now we
heard.
got you on.
And they even
Wes,
he even
Yeah,
admitted it and
historian.
everything. Yeah, yeah,
linguist,
nasty mud.
biblical scholar, PhD, and athlete wannabe. I like how you threw that in the bio right there. And Wesley, my man, I think it would be great to. I know you guys were both recently in Egypt.
That boy got it.
There's
And they be all
tons
with them books all in the background. Look, he got his
interested in
little.
that.
He bought a scripture that
How
probably
all
cost like
these
100,000.
things show up in
And I'm gonna
Egypt
put it
is
right here.
baffling to me.
That's how credible
But
I know my knowledge is
just
because I
going right
actually
to
bought
it,
some of
I
that
had
knowledge.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Billy, you
dude.
talk about how Jesus was never crucified, which is interesting because my wife, who's a Muslim, they believe that as well. Their beliefs, from what I understand from her, are they don't think that Jesus, as they believe, is a prophet.
Fuck, how can you
God
say
would have
that?
him killed. But I don't
I
think they
think,
have
or,
any
you know what I'm saying, like,
historical
It's like, how long you been with her?
evidence, as far as I know, is
Because
to
you ain't
what or
in
how
deep
or
in with
why
the
they
religion
believe
that she has, and you just like, I don't fuck
I'm
with it though.
curious for you guys both, and
On
if you
interest.
want to, I guess, go first, Billy, as to how you came about, like the findings where it seems that Jesus was not crucified, or that's not accurate.
Sure. And in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible. Okay.
Sinai.
According to the Sinai
Perfect.
Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. That Bible predates the King James version of the Bible, and the text there actually is about 12 to
Fuck these
14,000
dudes.
differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James version of the Bible, which came much later. And then also, one of the things that were interesting is that they discovered the book of Jesus' wife, which is at the Harvard Seminary, which, according to some scholars, that's a little controversial, but they claim that this is an accurate record that Jesus may have even been married, which...
Man, Jesus is whatever, dog. Man, in fact, he was the first Superman, like the real actual Superman. I mean, like he flew and fucking moved the moon. He brought the moon to us. They just be like, oh, he was married. And it's whatever y'all say, whatever, dude. He had a pet dog, but he hates cats.
Like, you, no
God,
matter what, that's neither
but
here
that
nor
we're all
there.
gods.
It's whatever.
We are gods, and that we're to do greater things in Him. And I just
What do y'all think, chat? Huh?
The return of
Not to hit on y'all religion and stuff, but I feel like a lot of people follow religion because they're scared.
Understanding, empathy, love that He came to this planet with, and we get that in our mind.
Yeah, think
our
about that,
conscience,
chat.
Act on that those incredible emotions and that understanding that the whole world's going to transform instantaneously. And I think that the second coming is the coming of the Christ consciousness to the planet, not a human being flying back to Earth to save people. That's just my personal understanding of how I perceived it over many, many years of going through this information and going through all this text.
And Wes, I'm gonna let you
Yeah, I don't know.
respond to that. And again, I mean, this
He's like,
is-
that's what I believe. Wouldn't somebody else believe that
everyone
there
listening
is?
to the show. You know, I'm always like challenged.
Yeah,
I
what-
read all these books.
That's
They
what.
are
Learn
Yeah, that's what I'm
to
like.
critically think and continue to come to your.
How many degrees you got? Do you feel like? Hey, do you feel like you're smart because you got a lot of degrees? What do you think, chat? Unless you have a degree, you ain't smart.
You know, like I said, that strength of God and consciousness is already. I can tap into that right now, so you don't have to wait for Him to come back. For those that believe He does, to actually have that like next level of what that's supposed to mean. But Wes, go ahead on for what Billy was talking about. I think
Now
the
I think I'm about to
Harvard
get started with the
Museum
debate
had
right here.
something about Jesus' wife. That's yeah.
Yeah, well, first let me say, I think it's really cool to...
Somebody gonna come out and say Jesus was gay?
not
Watch.
just be in the
He was with the
room
trans.
really,
Like Jesus Christ.
but be able to interact with you, because I wish I could be
Y'all
there in
come up.
person.
Y'all can come up
Unfortunately,
whatever you
Toronto,
want,
Canada
really.
is a long way away from Florida. It's a
Yeah,
little
Jesus
bit
was
of
a furry, like
jaunt.
Jesus.
But I really appreciate the fact that you had...
I'm like, how does that stop the corporations from doing what they doing? That's what I want to know.
Some of these facts. Do you mind if I ask a clarifying question?
Jesus was married. Jesus didn't get
When you
crucified.
say
Then
the
what does
Sinai
that do
Bible,
for us? What does that do for me?
What are you
It means the
referring to
corporations are going to stop being so greedy
The biblical text that was written, that made it into you can actually look it up on Amazon. It's a Bible.
and
called
fucking
Heavenly
causing us to where we
It's
have
called
the less
Sinai
fortunates
Bible.
and the more
Like the
fortunates.
Mount
Like
Sinai,
whatever,
I'm
dude.
Assuming it's the mountain that they're referencing there, but they put together their own version of the biblical text prior to the King.
And then make sure you pay attention to when you hear these dudes talk. They're always talking about a
Sure.
man
So,
said. A man said
When
this. A
you
man said that. A
refer to the
man
Sinai
said this.
Bible, would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus, like the codex that comes? Okay, that's why I was trying to get some clarification, because so you can actually go and see Codex Sinaiticus is at the British Library, so you can go and see it. It's on display, and the British Library has actually digitized the entire manuscript. So I work with manuscripts in my linguistic work. I'm an expert on early Christian scribal culture, and particularly in Greek and Coptic manuscripts. I actually have a facsimile, so I have a photocopy that was done by the British Library of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here, and the only reason I ask for clarification is because I want to make sure that what I'm addressing is actually what you mean, and not addressing something else. Because
Smirking and
the
shit.
Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just a Greek, it's a 4th century Greek manuscript. It comes from approximately between 325 and 350.
All they do is argue
AD.
about what man said.
And its text of the Gospels reads
Yeah, they're having a pissy
almost
contest over
identical
what man
to
there's more
the
credible.
modern Greek text that we develop translations from. So my curiosity is just simply in kind of exploring when you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there. I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of, say, Matthew 27, where it has Jesus
Matthew.
being crucified.
John,
And that's in Codex
Jesus,
Sinaiticus, or
Moses said,
John 19,
all these dudes, man.
or any of the other ones. So I think my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently. So actually, are you able to pull up a website with the
Shit, I thought you were talking
viewers or
about
listeners or
hold
whatever
up,
be
man.
able to see that?
What-
Took this far now.
While he's pulling that up too, like I keep saying to all the people that aren't scientists traveling the world and
Tell you what, a lot of these
linguists,
genius
don't even know how
guys
to
are
pronounce it
looking
the
pretty
right way,
buff
like
now.
me.
Yeah, linguist.
No, for real, they're like
Yeah.
Cyanide, I keep
very
thinking of
strange.
cyanide, like the poison.
Yeah, I need to
Cyanide
show I ain't
Bible,
just
so
a
is
nerd.
that like a
I
version.
can not beat
So
you up, but I look like I can.
From my own knowledge that I know, like when I really studied all this, what I thought was interesting about the Bible was how many like different eyewitness. I studied C.S. Lewis back in the day, how many different eyewitnesses and stuff there were, and they went on purpose to mention so many other names that they were able to like cross-reference throughout history and throughout those times. From my understanding, and those were different things that I always thought were kind of interesting that I felt was a good concept of proof. And then I want Billy to answer, and also
That's
I'm just
bullshit.
curious, like the Sinai
He's saying
Bible,
because
is
certain
that,
people
was
are
that,
credible.
where was that
that's
piece?
what
I found
they
that
get to
text
believe.
where I was referencing actually.
Like,
was
shit, go talk to
misquoted.
all them
I
in
misquoted
Jonestown
there.
then.
It's the Gospel of Barnabas.
Okay, yeah, well, so that's good. So let's deal with that too, because I've actually worked with, there are 2 manuscripts of the Gospel of Barnabas. The Gospel of Barnabas is a really interesting
That's why I
document.
couldn't watch. I didn't watch
Because
this one. I watched the person that
is
reviewed
a
it.
known forgery,
And
and,
all
so
that.
that's
I'm
why
tired of this,
I
'cause
think
it's
it's
just,
important to get
well,
these sources.
see,
So
the man,
at the very
this man
start
said
of the
that,
Gospel of
see,
Barnabas,
and
which we only have
Baptist
2
and
copies
Barnabas
of,
and
one is in Italian
this
and one is in
not
Spanish.
I'm like, I'm not
We
trying to even
see
hear all
right
that
off the
shit.
bat that the Gospel
Tell
of
me the
Barnabas, not
guy
to be
who
confused
said
with either
that
the
he
Epistle of
was
Barnabas
talking to
or the Acts
God,
of Barnabas,
and
which
God
are 2
told him in
apocryphal
his ear
documents
that this
from
what
the
it
2nd
is. So
century.
I can question
But the
that
Gospel
shit.
of Barnabas in particular, we know it's a forgery because it does things like
this
in
boy
chapter
got sugar.
92,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah, sure. Not this one.
it
This one.
says that Jesus spent 40 days on Mount Sinai and then he came to the Jordan River and he
Yeah, yeah,
walked
this guy,
to
yeah.
Jerusalem. But Mount Sinai is more than a week's journey away from Jerusalem.
Like,
And neither Mount Sinai nor Jerusalem are close to the Jordan
like I
River.
look like that.
So never mind there not being a route from the Jordan River to like around Mount Sinai or going to Jerusalem. But there are internal problems
I think they named Sinai
with
because of
the
Mount
Gospel of
Sinai,
Barnabas, which indicate that
dangerous
it
place.
shows no actual indication of
Or it's poisonous. and
evidence
it's full
of
cyanide
coming
that will kill
from
you.
or even having knowledge of first century
What came
Jewish
first, the
understanding.
name-
It actually
the
says
name
Jesus
or the
is the Christ, but not the
cyanide
Messiah, which indicates
think they've
that
been using
whoever the author
cyanide
is,
from
he
way
didn't know
back
that
in the
those were the
days,
same
kill
words.
kings and queens and shit like
And
that.
I think a bigger problem is that the Gospel of Barnabas actually paraphrases Dante's Inferno, which was written in 1314. So there's a lot of internal evidences that disqualify the Gospel of Barnabas, never mind the fact that we don't have any evidence of it prior to the 14th century, and none in any other language other than Middle Age Italian Italian and Spanish. But the internal content of the Gospel of Barnabas disqualifies it from being ancient. And then the fact that it's doing things like paraphrasing Dante, or it also refers to a rule of the time of Jubilee, which was changed in the Middle Ages from what it was in the biblical year of Jubilee. And it goes with the Middle Ages concept, not the ancient concept. So I think what I'm getting at is, so I'm a historian, and I deal with sources. So when I'm looking at sources, I want to make sure that I have a methodology by which I approach any type of source. So if there is something that denies the crucifixion, I want to make sure that I'm analyzing it and that the methodology by which I analyze it actually reveals that the content can be accurately tied to the event. So if we're talking about, say, Codex Sinaiticus, that's in the 4th century. Now that is, I would agree with you, Billy, our oldest copy of the Bible in the sense of cover to cover, Genesis to Revelation copy of the Bible. The problem is that we have individual copies of all 4 Gospels going back hundreds of years before Codex Sinaiticus. So I have a facsimile behind me of P66. This is a late 2nd century copy of the
that's
Gospel of
crazy.
John.
Yeah, both the books there right next
I
to
work
each
with
other.
this particular manuscript.
Offset it
I can
from
just
each
show
one.
the screen right here. This is an almost complete copy of the Gospel of John.
Almost like he was prepared for this, which
and
he
it
did. He was doing a debate.
has the
You know what I'm
crucifixion.
saying?
Yeah, so papyrus is just the what it's made out of. So
I got that from
Yeah.
ChatGPT, by the way.
yeah, so
Guys, I'm just
I can
trying to
actually.
smart for a second.
I have that papyrus.
Oh, that's
Yeah, so I'll show you this. So the documents you actually see on my bookshelf behind me are facsimile papyri that I've made. So when I was in Egypt last summer, I went and I got made for me some papyrus sheets. And so I take these papyrus sheets, which are made from the papyrus plant, and then when I go and I look at actual manuscripts, so I was at the University of Philadelphia last summer, and I went and I saw a document called P1, which is a 3rd century fragment of the beginning of the Gospel of Matthew. And so what I did is I sat down with that original and I produced a facsimile. So I copied the text. First of all, I
Shit, that looked like you
cut it out
copied
with
that
an
shit like
X-Acto knife.
fucking kid's homework.
Not the original 3rd century one on my papyrus. I cut out with an X-Acto knife this guy, and then I copied the text transcriptionally on the front and the back. So papyrus is just simply,
This fool.
it's what it's made out of. And so there's categorizing systems, and the
made
standard
a
one is called
copy
the
of a
Gregory
real one
Allant categorizing
for his
system.
own pleasure
And
to
so
have something like
sometimes
that.
you'll see when manuscripts are mentioned, they'll have a GA and then a number behind it. If it's made of papyrus, you simply abbreviate the word papyrus to P, and then you have the numbering system. So P66, what I showed you earlier, that's this on the categorizing system. It's the 66th manuscript that was put into
All
the
this
system.
materialistic stuff he has.
It's from the
he's like,
Gospel of
nah, I don't
John.
see
I
nothing
also
wrong with
have,
it.
46 and P47 on my shelf.
Crazy. You read
which
that Bible, I don't know how
includes
hard.
all 4 Gospels
He's
and
telling
Acts
about
from
that
the
materialistic
2nd
shit
and 3rd centuries.
Him coming
So
on donkeys and shit. And
the only
he just
the only
like, no.
hesitation I have with what you said, Billy, is that we
I gotta
have
show you I'm smart. I gotta get
single
some most
copies
books.
of the
I'm
Gospels
smart and
that can be
right.
dated
Yeah.
to the 2nd century that all do have the crucifixion. And so if we're relying on something like the Gospel of Barnabas, which is not just like, it's not that there's debate about it, it's that it's a
I'm
known
like-
forgery.
I'm like,
and no
look,
one's
the shit that
referring to the
happened to
Gospel of
Jesus,
Barnabas
that
as
shit's
anything
real.
other than
If you say
The shit that happened with Moses, that shit's real. What I'm questioning is not the
Well,
whole
hold on, 'cause do you mind if I
fish and the oil
address the
change
Gospel
and
of
shit. I'm
Jesus'
just saying
life?
the person as Jesus was real.
What
what
was her
I'm
name?
Yeah,
him
I'm like trying to write
him
notes
getting
like that.
tired or whatever it was.
I'm just
and
curious.
then-
So the
and then
gospel
coming
of
to,
Jesus' wife
like,
doesn't
saying
actually
he's
mention.
God,
So
so
oftentimes
that way
what
he can get
happens
the
is
word
that
out.
the text
about
of the gospel
Bible,
of Jesus'
not the
wife
Bible, I
is
mean,
kind of
about
paralleled with the gospel
Ten
of Philip,
Commandments. I
which
don't think
mentions that Mary
necessarily
Magdalene, that Jesus
I don't
would
think
kiss Mary
necessarily
Magdalene on the mouth.
Moses' laws.
And so those are kind
If
of
I'm not mistaken, I
used
think it's both of them. I don't know. Either way.
in parallel to kind of for this
So he-
argument,
whatever.
for this argument that Jesus
Like
was
for
married.
him, it's like I don't know if
So
that
the gospel of
magic
Jesus'
worked,
wife
you know,
is
whatever he
in
did.
the Harvard
I just know
Library.
he was a real person. He got
However,
maybe crucified.
the
You know what I'm
reason we
saying?
know it's also not
Now,
legitimate is
Moses,
because even
same
though the
thing, just a man
manuscript, the papyrus that it's
freed
on,
his people
was carbon dated to the 4th
and then
century, the text
wrote on
was
some
actually
stone
copied
and came down the mountain
from
and showed
a
him
PDF
what
version
what he
of
believes God
the Gospel of Thomas,
feels
known as
this
Grandin's
for
Interlinear.
the laws for human.
And
You know
there
what I'm
was
saying?
a mistake in the Coptic text of Grandin's Interlinear that was copied into the
Yeah,
Gospel of
because-
Jesus' wife. So we know
Like I said, I have
that
to
this is
question
not a
him, like,
legitimate
why
document,
would
even though the
God
papyrus is
give him
ancient, and this
the Ten
happens a lot
Commandments
with
when he would
forgeries.
just implanted
I
those
have
words in our
a
head.
couple of friends who have actually worked on projects that have revealed forgeries within Dead Sea Scroll manuscripts and within other ancient Christian papyri. But the reason why we know the Gospel of Jesus' wife and that Karen King, who kind of vouched for it, and kind of she lost a lot of credibility, unfortunately, for
Yeah, I
her.
believe he lied.
And she's admitted
to
that it's a fake
establish
as
order.
well, was
That's
because
why you don't lie.
we can tie it directly to not copying from an ancient text, but actually copying from an online version of the Gospel of Thomas in a PDF form.
Yeah, but he didn't
and the
abuse it. He
mistake
went up to the
on
mountain, I
that
think he
PDF
stayed
form
in
was
the mountain
copied into
for I don't know
the,
how
the
long.
text of that was
Yeah,
borrowed in
yeah,
the
in that sense, yeah. I would say like he
theology
did
of
abuse
Jesus
his
Christ.
power by saying.
So I just
you know,
point
by lying.
that out is once
And I
again
think
with our
he lied.
sourcing, I think we need to make sure that we're
And-
going
and then
towards
that's
not
where-
just
that's where
early
we're at right
sources,
now.
but actually credible sources. And unfortunately, neither the Gospel of Barnabas nor the Gospel of Jesus' wife are credible sources in terms of actually and agreed upon by not just the vast
Without
majority of
these-
scholarship,
with
but
these
I don't know
laws of the
anybody
Ten Commandments,
in the field of
they would've,
papyrology,
they would've killed
paleography,
themselves.
historiography,
You see what I'm saying?
who actually refers to
So
these
you had to get
documents
them to understand that there's
as
some real
being
rules.
legitimate.
That's fair
Because
enough.
to
That's-
take your
I can
people
respect that.
and set them free
So
and
let's
then
go into
what,
the Old
die,
Testament a
and then
little
he's
bit.
like, see, they're gonna die
Predominantly,
anyways.
from my research,
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I discovered that a lot of
Jesus don't
information
lie.
from the Enuma Elish and the Seven Tablets of Creation
What happened happened.
is a lot of the in Genesis, a lot of the creation story that comes into Genesis. Not all
Yeah,
of it.
it is.
but,
Which one was?
Because obviously it's a smaller. Genesis is a
Yeah, all
much
they
smaller
talking
version,
about is
much
man
bigger
this,
story.
man that, Matthews,
But,
and
They got
It's
on
literally
religion shit, but
almost
this is
word for
cool.
word from
yeah, I agree. Let's see, we got some Phil or some Joe White. He tripping though.
Look, 10 awful nasty secrets from the old golden Hollywood.
This one?
Shit, yeah, that one right
Check it out.
there. Yeah.
All right.
Life in Hollywood isn't as glamorous as it may seem. If you think everything is clean and straightforward, think again. Behind the scenes, there are conspiracies, murders, and sinister individuals from strong studios that made many of our beloved actresses and actors do something that you may have never thought of. Stay tuned as we unveil the hidden dark secrets from the golden era Hollywood that only a few knew, and we will also disclose the real culprit behind each.
These dudes,
Charlie Chaplin's affairs with underage women.
mines.
No,
Charlie
they're
Chaplin is one of
actually
the
a
most
group. They're
beloved
pretty
figures in
famous.
film history, known for his comedic genius and his iconic character, the Tramp. However, his personal life was riddled with controversy, particularly his relationships with much younger women. Chaplin had a pattern of marrying underage girls, often under questionable circumstances. His first wife, Mildred Harris, was just 16 years old when they married, as was his second wife, Lita Gray, whim he married after she became pregnant.
fucking old.
Chaplin's relationships with young women were the subject of much scandal, particularly in an era when moral standards were more rigidly enforced. Despite this, Chaplin continued to have a successful career and eventually found stability in his marriage to Una O'Neill, with whom he had 8 children. Nevertheless, his troubling behavior in his earlier years casts a shadow over his legacy, raising questions about the ethics of celebrity relationships in old Hollywood. Joan Crawford removed her teeth. Joan
Damn,
Crawford's stunning
dedicated.
beauty and sharp cheekbones became one of her most recognizable features. But few knew the extreme lengths she went to maintain
so
her
she was getting
appearance.
old. She took her teeth.
In her
taken and showed the
20s,
cheeks.
Crawford had several back molars removed to create the illusion of higher cheekbones, enhancing the angularity of her face. This drastic step was a result of the immense pressure placed on women in Hollywood to maintain a flawless and glamorous image. Crawford, who was known for her perfectionism, was one of many actresses subjected to harsh scrutiny about her appearance. The decision to remove her teeth is a striking example of the lengths stars of her era would go to remain in the public's favor. But Crawford's struggles didn't stop at physical insecurities. Her personal life was fraught with turmoil, most notably with her strained relationship with her children. Her adopted daughter, Christina Crawford, wrote a scathing memoir, Mommy Dearest, detailing emotional and physical abuse at the hands of her mother. While the book's
That's her right
accuracy
there?
has been debated,
that bitch
it has
famous.
left a lasting
Yeah, I
stain
knew
on
her
Crawford's
Matter of fact,
legacy,
she played.
painting a picture
Matter of
of
fact,
a
she
woman
played
whose desire for
she
control
played on
and perfection.
Man, I might be wrong here.
While the book's accuracy, emotional and physical abuse at the hands of her mother.
No, that's not. Her.
While the book's accuracy has been debated, it has left a lasting stain on Crawford's legacy, painting a picture of a woman whose desire for control and perfection extended into her personal relationships, ultimately damaging her family bonds. Marlon Brando's treatment of Rita Moreno. Rita Moreno was one of the greatest stars from the golden age of Hollywood, but her life was not greatest. She was struggling, especially when she started her relationship with Marlon Brando, the greatest of his time. They met at the set of Desiree, but their relationship was marred by lies, infidelity, and emotional abuse. Brando, who had numerous affairs throughout their relationship, caused Moreno immense emotional pain. At one point, Brando forced Moreno to terminate a pregnancy against her wishes. The emotional toll of their relationship led Moreno to attempt suicide, a desperate act that she fortunately survived. Despite this, Moreno went on to have an illustrious career, winning an Academy Award, a Tony, a Grammy, and an Emmy. Her experience with Brando, however, highlighted the darker side of Hollywood's romantic entanglements, where power imbalances often led to toxic
Every time I hear
relationships.
that word, I think of
While Brando's
Yeah.
talent continues to be celebrated, his personal life serves as a reminder of how even the most revered figures can have deeply troubling flaws. Judy Lewis was the secret child of
mouth right
Hollywood
there.
royalty.
Oh my God. That must
Judy
be-
Lewis's
What'd you say,
story
Levy?
is perhaps one of the most shocking and heartbreaking in Hollywood history. The daughter of actresses Loretta Young and Clark Gable was born out of wedlock during a time when such a scandal could ruin careers. She was Judy Lewis. To protect both her and Gable's reputations, Young concealed her pregnancy, sent Lewis to an orphanage for the first 19 months of her life, and later adopted her in a carefully orchestrated charade. Lewis grew up unaware of her true
Oh, look, she
parentage.
got a smile just like
But
her.
Hollywood insiders knew the truth, and the public eventually caught on due to her striking resemblance to Gable. The full story didn't come to light until Lewis was an adult, and she later wrote about the experience in her memoir. Even more shocking was the revelation that her mother's pregnancy was the result of a non-consensual encounter with Gable, further complicating the
Shirley
narrative.
Temple.
Lewis's story is a haunting example of the lengths to which Hollywood went to maintain its image, often at the expense of the people involved. Shirley Temple was almost assassinated. Shirley Temple, adored by millions as the golden-haired child star of the 1930s, brought joy to audiences across the globe. However, her fame came with its own set of dangers. During a live performance, Temple narrowly escaped an assassination attempt. A grief-stricken mother, who had lost her own child around the time Temple was born, convinced herself that the young actress had stolen her deceased daughter's soul. Driven by grief and delusion, the woman brought a gun to Temple's performance and attempted to shoot her.
Damn.
Thankfully, security
then
intervened
go back
before
to
the
work still
situation
again?
escalated. But the episode
But did
is a
she even
chilling
know what was
reminder
going
of
down?
the dark side of fame.
Yeah, like boom,
where the
she
line
hearing a
between
gunshot and just like
adoration
okay, and everybody
obsession
just
can sometimes blur.
and she's getting scared just
Temple's
of that.
early stardom also came with the loss
crazy.
of a normal childhood. The pressures of being a child star meant long hours on set, little interaction with other children, and a lack of formal education. By the time she was a teenager, Temple's star had begun to fade, and transitioning to adult roles proved difficult. While she later found success as a diplomat, serving as the U.S. ambassador to Ghana and Czechoslovakia, the shadow of her tumultuous childhood always lingered.
Damn, you
Montgomery
serious?
Clift's life-changing car
I'm
accident.
trying to see
know.
how the hell she became the U.S. ambassador in Ghana.
While she later found success as a
Oh, 'cause of their
diplomat,
color? Shit, what the
serving
fuck?
as the U.S. ambassador to Ghana and Czechoslovakia, the shadow of her tumultuous
Yeah,
childhood
but
always
she
lingered.
probably got her education afterwards
Montgomery
and shit like
Clift's
that.
life-changing
and then,
car
of
accident.
course, like
Montgomery Clift was one of the most promising actors of his generation, praised for his intense performances and boyish charm. In films like A Place in the Sun and From Here to Eternity, Clift captivated audiences with his emotional depth. But in 1956, his life took a tragic turn after a near-fatal car accident.
fuck.
Leaving a dinner party at Elizabeth Taylor's house, Clift crashed his car, suffering severe facial injuries that required extensive plastic surgery. The accident not only altered his appearance, but also marked the beginning of a downward spiral into substance abuse. Clift struggled to cope with the chronic pain caused by his injuries and turned to alcohol and painkillers for relief. His once promising career faltered, and the actor became known more for his off-screen struggles than his on-screen talent.
Shit's
Despite
been going
these
on.
difficulties, Clift continued
I'm
to
look-
work,
I'm like hearing
delivering
this,
a
I'm like,
powerful
damn, that
performance
those
in
type of
Judgment at
like,
Nuremberg
what?
just a few years before his untimely death at the age of
Rocking it
45.
out like that.
Stan Laurel's drinking problem. Stan Laurel, famous for his comedic partnership with Oliver Hardy, brought laughter to millions with their slapstick routines. However, behind
Slapstick,
the
that's what it's
scenes,
called,
Laurel's
slapstick
life was
humor.
anything but funny. His third wife, Vera Ivanova Shuvalova, accused him of being a violent alcoholic. According to Shuvalova, Laurel once threatened her with a gun and even dug a grave in their backyard, telling her he would bury her alive.
Damn.
These dark claims painted a troubling picture of the comedian's personal struggles with alcoholism, which stood in stark contrast to the jovial persona he presented to the world. Laurel's battle with addiction wasn't an isolated incident in Hollywood. The pressures of fame,
The hell,
the constant
mustache was famous like a
scrutiny, and the
motherfucker.
relentless demand for success
Chaplin,
often
him.
led many stars down a path
The
of
fuck was
substance
that
abuse.
about?
For Laurel, who had faced numerous personal and
I don't
financial
know. I would
hardships,
like to know that, though.
including
That's
multiple
crazy.
failed marriages and lawsuits, alcohol became a way to cope with the mounting stress. Though he managed to continue working and maintain his place in Hollywood history, Laurel's personal life remained haunted by his demons. John Huston's vehicular manslaughter.
Jesus.
John Huston is remembered as one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, known for classics like The Maltese Falcon and The African Queen. However, his early life was marred
That
by
one
a
looks
tragic
familiar.
accident. In 1933, before he became a director,
Too old for me.
Huston was involved in a car crash that killed actress Tosca Rullian. Huston, who had been drinking at the time, struck
Yeah, there's a
Rullian while
bunch of that.
driving under the influence. Though a coroner's jury cleared him of any wrongdoing, the incident cast a dark shadow over his life.
Any wrongdoing?
Rumors swirled that
real.
Houston was covering for a more prominent
Basically, I
Hollywood
think because she
figure,
got in the car with him.
Clark Gable.
Yeah, but he was
Some speculated that Gable had been driving the car, and Houston had
Yeah.
taken the blame
But
to
it's
protect
like-
his friend's career.
But it's like you can't get in the
These
car with
rumors
him.
were
He's
later
driving
debunked,
drunk
but
and
the
shit.
incident
Why would you
left
get in
an
the car with
indelible
him?
mark on Houston's life. Despite this tragedy, Houston went on to have a long and successful career. But
Yeah,
the
yeah,
specter of
that's
the
true.
accident and its impact on Rullian's family
That's
remained a lingering part of his legacy. Marilyn Monroe's stuttering began after childhood trauma. Marilyn Monroe was the quintessential Hollywood icon, glamorous, alluring, and adored by millions. But beneath the surface, Monroe grappled with deep-seated
Yeah.
trauma from her childhood.
Too big.
Raised
Yeah,
in foster
don't seem
care
too big.
and
It's
with
probably
a
the
mother
bra.
who suffered from mental
Yeah, them
illness,
bras that were like real
Monroe's
pointy.
early
They look like
life was
missiles.
marked by instability
They're back in
and
them
emotional
days. They look like
hardship.
missiles.
One of the manifestations
Like
of
this
trauma
this
was
era
her
right here.
stutter,
Matter of fact,
which emerged during
they
her
just be looking
turbulent
like
childhood.
missiles, and the cars look like
Although
fucking
Monroe eventually overcame
rocket
her
ships and
stuttering,
shit.
it remained a symbol of the emotional scars she carried throughout her life. Despite achieving fame, Monroe struggled with anxiety, depression, and substance abuse, often feeling isolated and misunderstood by those around her. Her tragic death at the age of 36 has been the subject of numerous conspiracy theories, with many speculating that it was not the accidental overdose it was reported to be, but rather a murder linked to her relationships with powerful men. Regardless of the cause, Monroe's untimely death cemented her status as one of Hollywood's most enduring tragic figures. Alfred Hitchcock stalked his own actress.
Been going on.
Alfred Hitchcock,
You go
known
look
as
up
the master of
Rome's
suspense,
fucking
was one of the most influential filmmakers of the 20th
This
century.
man was addicted. This
However,
famous
his
man was
relationship
addicted.
with
This
his leading
gladiator,
actress,
whoever.
Tippi Hedren,
Jesus.
during the making of The Birds, and Marnie revealed a
Changed
darker
the
side to
motherfucking
his
thing.
genius.
Nope. Same.
Hitchcock became obsessively infatuated with Hedren, subjecting her to constant surveillance, unwanted advances, and controlling behavior. He isolated her from other cast members, making it clear that her career depended on his approval. Hedren's experience working with Hitchcock was so traumatic
No,
that she
it's-
refused to work with him
Oh,
again,
Hitchcock.
despite the damage it did to her
Hitchcock?
career. While Hitchcock's
Hitchcock?
films continue
Okay,
to be
Hitchcock.
celebrated as masterpieces, his treatment of Hedren and other actresses has
What does it
raised
say? I
questions
know him
about
from the
toxic
TV show. Like
environments
there'll be a
some
TV
women
show.
were subjected
I forgot
to
how it
in
goes,
Hollywood.
and then like it's like a door.
Hedren
and
later
it has
spoke
a-
out about the abuse,
silhouette
ensuring that her
marking it
story
out,
would
like
not
his
be
silhouette.
silenced, even as
And then he
Hitchcock's
steps in
legacy continued to grow.
as a shadow from the back.
Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle.
It was like a TV
Scandal.
show about mystery and shit. 'cause I think he wrote a
Roscoe
lot of
Fatty
fucking
Arbuckle,
stories and shit.
one
but
of Hollywood's first comedic stars,
That's how I know
saw
him.
his career destroyed by a
I
scandal
don't know.
in
I don't know a lot of these
1921.
guys.
Yeah.
During a Labor Day party at San Francisco's St. Francis Hotel, actress Virginia Rapp fell ill and died days later from a ruptured bladder. Arbuckle was accused of raping and fatally injuring
no.
Rapp, a claim made by Maud Delmont, despite little evidence. Sensationalized media coverage vilified Arbuckle, leading to his arrest in 3 high-profile trials. Though acquitted in 1922 with a jury even apologizing for his treatment, the damage was irreversible. Hollywood studios blacklisted him, pulling his films, and Arbuckle's once promising career was ruined. Public outcry over the
Look.
scandal contributed to
He
the
just has a wound.
creation of the Hays Code, which imposed
crazy.
moral guidelines on Hollywood. Arbuckle later worked under the pseudonym William Goodrich as a director, but struggled to regain his former status. Just as he was starting a career comeback, he died from a heart attack in 1933 at age 46.
He ain't even clean the window.
Despite his acquittal, Arbuckle's legacy remains overshadowed by the scandal, marking one of Hollywood's most infamous downfalls. Errol Flynn's sexual assault allegations. Errol Flynn, celebrated for his swashbuckling roles in films like The Adventures of Robin Hood,
They just
was a
recycling. That's not
charismatic
doing.
leading man whose off-screen life was as notorious as his on-screen heroics. In 1942, Flynn's career faced a major
little
scandal
changes here
when
and
2
there.
teenage girls accused him of statutory rape. The trial became a media sensation, with Flynn's charm and popularity earning him widespread public sympathy. He was eventually acquitted, but the case exposed the stark contrast between his Hollywood persona and his personal life. Flynn was well known for his womanizing, hard-partying lifestyle, and his hedonistic behavior often made headlines. The trial and the revelations
Sinbad?
that followed
That's what he
complicated
was
his
playing.
legacy,
Oh, Robin Hood.
tarnishing the image of the
said
dashing
Sinbad?
hero
Yeah,
he
no,
portrayed
Sinbad.
in films.
There's
Though acquitted, the scandal
a
left a
character,
lasting mark on
not
his
character, a
reputation,
person. I don't know if it's
revealing
real.
a
I don't
darker
remember.
side to one
Like
of
mythical-
Hollywood's most iconic stars.
Roman
Sinbad.
Roman
Filled
story.
Filled with
Yeah.
excess and controversy,
Nah, yeah.
continues
Sinbad.
to be a
The
subject
Adventures of Sinbad.
fascination,
They even did TV shows
showing
on
how
it too.
fame and
Yeah.
He has
personal
a bunch of like
indulgence
the Hercules. He's
often
like basically like
collided
Hercules and
during
shit. Some kind of
Hollywood's
mythical.
golden age.
Okay.
Judy Garland's
deity.
battle with addiction. Judy Garland was renowned for her iconic role in The Wizard of Oz. He faced lifelong
Ain't none of my
struggles with
celebrities
addiction
safe,
and mental
man.
health, despite her
Hell no.
extraordinary success.
No, no.
Entering Hollywood at a young age, Garland endured relentless pressure from studio executives who forced her to maintain a strict diet and provided her with amphetamines to stay energized during grueling filming schedules. To counteract the stimulants,
Oh, they do the same thing
she was
still.
also
Just
given
they do
sleeping
it in a
pills,
different way.
creating a harmful cycle of drug dependency. This pattern of addiction started in her teenage years and persisted throughout her career, contributing to several suicide attempts and hospitalizations.
Was that from Wizard of
Despite
Oz,
her
right? Wizard of
incredible
Oz.
talent and enduring popularity, Garland's personal life was fraught with emotional and physical challenges. Her reliance on drugs, coupled with the unrelenting pressures of fame, ultimately contributed to her tragic death from an accidental overdose at the age of 47. Garland's legacy
47?
remains one of unmatched talent and enduring
Of what?
influence,
Drugs?
but also of a life plagued by personal turmoil
Oh.
behind the Hollywood glamour. The tragic death of Jane Mansfield. Jane Mansfield, the blonde bombshell frequently compared to Marilyn Monroe, was a major Hollywood star in the 1950s
Yeah, for real? I
and
thought that was her.
1960s, with notable roles in films like The Girl Can't Help It. Tragically, her life was cut short in 1967 when she died in a horrific car accident at just 34 years old. The official cause was a crash after the car she was in collided with a tractor trailer, with the impact instantly killing Mansfield and 2 others. However, over the years, conspiracy theories have emerged, suggesting that her death was not accidental. One theory claims that the car's brakes were intentionally tampered with, leading to the fatal crash. Some speculate that Mansfield's connections to certain controversial figures or disputes in her personal life may have made her a target. Despite these claims, there has never been any concrete evidence to support foul play, and her death remains officially classified as an accident. Yet the rumors continue to captivate those fascinated by
You know
the
what? That's what I'm gonna
mysterious
say
and
from now
often
on.
tragic fates
From now
of
on, when
Hollywood
someone
stars.
questions me about
If you
whatever I'm
like the
saying on my
video, please
comments
hit
and stuff,
subscribe and watch
I'm
other
just gonna be like,
videos
look,
that we have created after
unless you
careful
want to, unless you
research.
don't want your feelings hurt, I suggest you shouldn't just talk to me. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not gonna like what I say about religious and all that crap.
Yeah.
Fuck is this? All right, what do you got next, or call that a day?
I think, yeah, call it a day for me.
All right, well let's go. All right,
Yeah. All right, y'all. Hopefully
All right, lady.
you enjoyed
all right, y'all.
our reactions.
To whatever that was.
Whatever the hell that was.